My grandmother, वो सिर्फ पंजाबी नाम ठीक से बोल सकती है.
Okay.
ठीक है. These are the names of the 11 players that played for India in the early 2000s. Okay. Sagwan.
Okay.
Tendulkar. Okay. Darawad. अजी अजगर और जहर खान. हमारे दो ओपनिंग बॉलर्स. I was like क्या? युवराज सिंह ठीक से बोलती थी. ठीक है.
उनके अपना था. हरभजन सिंह also युवराज सिंह.
हरभजन सिंह भी एकदम ठीक से वही.
मुझसे जडेजा नहीं बोला जाता था. I would say जजेजा. So I would always and I would keep slipping and on जजेजा.
Yeah.
And I was so relieved when he, finally 2000 के बाद वो नहीं खेला. So there was no me making mispronunciations and people finding fault in that. काफी relief feel हुआ था.
अजय जडेजा के कैरेक्टर की तरह आपकी pronunciation भी फिसलने लगी. Basically.
We have got another guest on this podcast called Random Cricket Conversations with Comedians. No, that's not the guest's name if it sounded so. It is the name of the podcast whose 6th episode we are recording with a person who actually dreams of setting up nets in his backyard with a bowling machine that will bowl to him every day. And well, that's the kind of cricket lover Karunesh Talwar is. So welcome Karunesh, welcome to the podcast.
Hey man, thanks for having me, and I'm really impressed that you watched a podcast episode that got like a handful of views. That's some top shelf research that you've done before this episode. So yeah, well done, man.
Part of the job. But let's begin from this bit about you. The dream of setting up nets in your backyard and having a bowling machine bowl at you. First, when did this dream start, and how much have you come close to it? Like I know you have completed a decade in comedy, stand-up comedy, and you've now moved to Goa. So, yes, but what part of that, setting up nets and having a bowling machine bowl at you has been achieved?
So, I basically, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cricketer. Which is highly original and an idea that nobody's ever had. When you're a child, everything has to be bade hoke kya banna hai, rather than man kya kar raha hai karne ka, like there's always a very high weight of expectation and pressure that's involved with everything. So if you tell your parents that I want to be a cricketer when I grow up, and they're supportive, which in my case they were, that means they're buying you a bat, they're buying you a kit, they're enrolling you to a cricket academy, they're sending you there every weekend. So now that's an investment of time and faith and money and effort on their part. So if you're not very good at it, it affects your confidence in yourself and it affects their confidence in you, because it's always with the goal of bade hoke ye banna hai. You know what I mean? Whereas right now, I already know ki bade hoke kya banna tha. When I was a kid, there was a guy, he was a really good bowler, and uski swing hoti thi yaar, ball हम में से किसी की नहीं होती थी. और इसीलिए भी क्योंकि नेट के अंदर आधा नेट कंक्रीट का पिच था. ठीक है, तो हवा में होगा जो होगा, बाउंस होने के बाद कुछ सीन नहीं होने वाला, सीधा ही जाएगा.
एग्जैक्टली.
तो थोड़ा बहुत एक दो बार बोल्ड हो गया उसकी बॉलिंग पे, फिर फिगर आउट हो गया कि ये सिर्फ इन स्विंग आती है इसको और इसकी सिर्फ हवा में हिलती है. ठीक है, तो ही बोल्ड अ फुल बॉल एंड आई प्लेड inside the line of it and it hit the middle of my bat and it was an on drive and it went straight ahead.
What a feeling.
It's just for that feeling again, like when a ball hits the middle of your bat, or when you beat a batsman, like when you're bowling at them, or if you get a wicket, like those feelings, that's why I want it again, man. That's it. Now, the thing is, right now in life it's the first time over the last couple of years where I get to make my decisions, right? Like I get to decide if I can actually have a bowling machine in my backyard. And this is the extent to which I dislike people, and I don't want to make new friends and I don't want to hear what they have to say, is that I will have a machine bowl at me rather than a human being. I prefer that because it's like bakchodi niche hai, mere ko batting karni hai, theek hai, that's it. So basically scene ye hai ki if I try to, like currently I've lost a few kilos, I'm working with a trainer and stuff like that. But if at my current level of fitness, if I try to like join a club and play with people who have been playing for a while, I will injure myself. So there's a 6-month plan in place. There's a certain goal weight.
Wow.
There's a diet I consume for that, and there's a certain amount of working out I do. And hopefully within 6 to 12 months max, I will be back in the nets again. And once I'm back in the nets, I will invest in a bowling machine for my backyard. Because then I want to practice at home and then I want to get good at it and then I want to go and compete in the nets. So with me, it's never I'm never the sort of person who's going to be sort of interested in 12 things. I will be obsessively interested in 4 things, and then I want to get as good as I can at those things. So, and that might not be good by any random, like by any global standard or any national standard, but good according to my potential, like जितना मैं achieve कर सकता हूँ उसमें.
अपने को satisfaction मिलना चाहिए.
हाँ.
But what drew you towards cricket? What was, Bollywood style में आप दोनों पहले कब कहाँ मिले थे?
This is gonna sound cliched, but Sachin at Sharjah in 1998. I mean,
क्या है ये? मतलब ये सबका same answer कैसे रहता है?
I was 7 years old, dude. Like, how could you not, right? Like at that point, I knew how cricket worked. I think you're.
It's paused. We started talking about Sachin's Sharjah knock 1998, and as it so often happens that people get transported back to that era. That happened with Karunesh also, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically, either that or the internet in Goa is highly unstable. One of those 2 things happened. I'm not quite sure which. But yeah, यहाँ पे बहुत बारिश है और मैं गोवा में रहता हूँ. यहाँ पे बहुत बारिश है तो the Wi-Fi cut out. Luckily, I had access to another space that was nearby. So I drove there, and now we're continuing the podcast. 1998 Sharjah was when I was first blown away by cricket, because until then I'd seen little bits and pieces of it, too young to understand much. But I was watching that game, and then I decided that I would watch cricket because it was so special, right? And I was a huge Sachin fan immediately. But yeah, the 1999 World Cup was something that I was insanely excited for. I remember not understanding why India didn't make it to the Super Six, like just asking my parents, पर ऐसा कैसे कर सकते हैं ये लोग? ऐसा थोड़ी India Super Six में कैसे नहीं आ सकती? And they're like, they didn't get enough points. I'm like, ऐसा थोड़ी होता है. They're like, नहीं, ऐसे ही होता है. Those are the rules, And I'm like, yeah, fuck यार, ऐसा थोड़ी.
Did you have that thing with your father where you used to watch cricket together?
Not really, because my dad, my dad is the sort of person where if there's a match going on, he'll be like, कौन खेल रहा है? And I'm like, India, South Africa. He's like, नहीं, खेल कौन रहा है? उनके दिमाग में खेलना मतलब बैटिंग करना. ठीक है, जो बैटिंग नहीं कर रहा वो नहीं खेल रहा है. तो हम लाइक इंडिया खेल रही है. अच्छा, उसमें से कौन खेल रहा है? द्राविड. अच्छा, ठीक है, नहीं देखना मैंने. जब सचिन खेलेगा तब बताना. So when Sachin would come to bat, my dad would watch. Otherwise, he was like, नहीं देखना. My grandmother was a huge cricket fan, and I used to watch all my cricket with her. And because before the partition, she's from Pakistan. Ooh. I think she had a soft corner for the Pakistan team. You know what I mean? Like, she used to keep up appearances around us. Like, if a wicket falls or whatever, she would like make sure that she didn't like celebrate or anything like that. But कभी-कभी पाकिस्तान का एक player चौका मार देता है. My grandmother couldn't control herself. She was like, मार दिया पापड़ वाले ने. And we're like, आप देशद्रोही हो. ये क्या चल रहा है यहाँ पे? हम लोग सब
The anti-national trope has been going on in your house much longer, much before.
Yeah, exactly. We used to, instead of like, हमारे घर के अंदर हम लोग मेरी नानी को शक की नजरों से देखते थे. जैसे कि स्टूडेंट एक्टिविस्ट्स को आजकल देखा जाता है. Like JNU पास आउट को जैसे देखते हैं ना लोग, वैसे मैं अपनी नानी को देखता था बचपन में.
You also mentioned in the interview that you like to live your life now, at least the way Virender Sehwag used to bat. So was he one of those players who used to look up to while he was playing?
His approach to batting is a very optimal approach to performance, like to stand up to anything. Like जैसे वो बोलता है ना कि मैं गाना गाता था बैटिंग करते हुए, जिस दिन गाना सुर में निकलता था उस दिन बैटिंग भी अच्छी होती थी. I feel like if you can be that relaxed and can have a mind that is that empty, like it does not hold any thoughts, that you're in a sort of meditative state almost before you get on stage. And while you're on stage, if you can just do what you're doing without worry, without anxiety, and without thinking about 10 other things that are not related to that, then it's going well. Then you're doing it right. Like, aaj sur lag raha hai, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, aaj middle ho raha
hai. Exactly. It's hitting the middle of the bat today. Exactly. So yeah, wait.
Yeah, I think one point that you made about Sehwag, which something that I completely agree with, that it is so wrong to judge Sehwag based on just his numbers, because those numbers can't take into account the psychological impact that batsman had.
Exactly.
A bowler bowling to Akash Chopra would be much more at ease than bowling to Virender Sehwag, right?
I mean, Akash Chopra would have been more annoying than Virender Sehwag because वो rhyming में sledge करता होगा तो. Eden Gardens 2001, Kolkata. That was special because लाइक मेरे फैमिली में मेरा मजाक उड़ाते थे कि आखिरी बॉल तक देखता रहता है, इसको लगता ही नहीं कि इंडिया हार सकती है, पर वो मैच में मुझे भी लग गया कि इंडिया हारेगी, यू नो, और फिर वो जीत गए. It was almost as if, like, as a kid, I was like, I'm never not going to have faith in this team again. You know, like, I'm always going to believe that this team can do it.
What kind of a cricket watcher were you? Did you get used to get agitated, or were you not much affected by things that were happening?
No. Just to give you an example, 2003 World Cup final, my face was painted, man. And I was wearing an India jersey, and then the paint ran into my mouth via my tears. So,
I was going to say that. How did you feel about that paint at the end of the first inning itself, or at the end of Sachin's innings, which lasted like 4 balls?
So here's the thing: I am a little bit crazy about how I support India even to this day.
Okay.
You know what I thought when I was watching the Gabba Test match? Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar can bat. It's not over yet. You know, so what if it's like 170 for 5? They'll score something. Even if they both get 50s, we'll be near Australia's score. They both got 60s, we were near Australia's score. So, I mean, if you're always optimistic, then 1 out of every 10,000 times you will be right. You know? So, in the 2003 World Cup final, I gave up when India were 236 for 8.
Okay.
That was when I was like, okay, we'll lose this, I think. You know, but till then I had hopes. I still had hopes. But I think the biggest hope I had was Virender Sehwag and Rain. Those were my 2 hopes in that final. Sehwag got 80 something and then got run out, I think.
Yeah.
And then the rain also stopped, and I was like, fuck, okay, nah, I think we'll lose this now. But I'm definitely an agitated cricket fan. I feel like India की history में श्रीशांत से ज़्यादा अगर किसी ने इंडिया के लिए celebrate किया है या सर पटका है तो वो मैं. You know, like I was as demonstrative as that when I was a kid. I injured my thumb once celebrating A.B. de Villiers' wicket in that same series where Sreesanth lost his mind.
2006.
Like A.B. de Villiers बहुत तंग कर रहा था हम लोग को. He was playing a fantastic innings like he does. और वो out हो गया. और I'm fat and I'm 15, and we had those settees that were kind of low, like a couch which is like closer to the floor, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to celebrate the wicket, so I wanted to get up. पर मैंने एक ही हाथ आगे रखा और उसका भी thumb रखा था ऐसे. And so all my weight went on that thumb, and that thumb got twisted. And so now there are tears in my eyes because of the pain, but I'm still celebrating. You know,
God.
That's the kind of cricket watcher I was.
You're like the poster boy of, मतलब सुधीर की जगह you can be there also if you were that, you know, adventurous.
सुधीर और मेरे में एक ही फर्क है. मेरे अंदर उतना बॉडी पॉजिटिविटी नहीं है कि मैं अपनी टी-शर्ट पब्लिक में उतार दूं. You know, इसीलिए मैं स्विमिंग भी नहीं करता. पर हाँ, सुधीर और मेरे में सिर्फ उतना ही फर्क है, बाकी सब सेम है. और मेरे को साइकिल नहीं चलानी आती, वो भी है.
It seems we are in the middle of a comedy set that you're doing, and some of these punches are great, absolutely great.
Andre Nel versus Sreesanth. That whole thing that happened in that test match where Sreesanth was batting. First of all, I loved Sreesanth, okay? And that is not a statement that is aged well. I acknowledge that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'll go back to the first part of the episode where you had things to say about Nayan Mongi and Ajay Jadeja.
Yeah. But again, like, dude, spot fixing, I don't care about the IPL. So I'm a little bit biased, you know. IPL hai yaar. I watch the IPL, but I watch it for my favorite players. अरे सूर्य कुमार यादव की बैटिंग देख लेते हैं. अरे बुमराह की बॉलिंग देख लेते हैं. You know, या पृथ्वी शॉ खेलने आ रहा है. He's exciting. Let's watch him. You know, Sreesanth की bowling in that South Africa series, the pace that he bowled at. तुम जैक कैलिस को मुंह पे मार रहे हो यार. You know, you're getting A.B. de Villiers out bowled. What are you talking about? That seam position, that upright, bolt upright seam position. वो सब करने के बाद, the Indian batting team collapses. Sreesanth has come out to bat. Andre Nel is behaving how Sreesanth behaves. You know, but you love Sreesanth and you hate Andre Nel because Andre Nel is the other team. It's that simple. It's primal. It's animalistic. You can't help it. And he does that whole thing of like tapping the Cricket South Africa crest on his shoulder, and he cusses him out. And then the next ball goes for 6. I remember मेरे exams चल रहे थे. I remember I had taken a break from studying to watch the game, and that's when that passage of play happened. And I remember thanking God that this happened when I took a break. Like I remember genuinely having that feeling because उसने छक्का मार दिया, मैं उसी पे पागल हो गया. Then I heard the commentators laughing, and I was like, क्या हो गया? Commentators इसीलिए हंस रहे क्योंकि छक्का मारा इसने. Then I was like, नहीं bro, ये नाच रहा है. ये पिच पे आगे आके बैट घुमा के नाच रहा है. What are you talking about?
Unheard of.
as a cricket viewer, one of my favorite things I've ever seen.
I think Sreesanth sadly is remembered more for his antics than what he, did with the ball. And he did incredibly well with the ball on a number of occasions for India. So वो थोड़ा
It's
बुरा
unfair to
लगता
him.
है. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
unfair
It's
to him, I
unfair to
think.
him.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that we should be kind to Sreesanth about the spot fixing aspect of things, but you can't whitewash his name from Indian cricket history. You can't do that. It's not fair.
We remember the celebrations, we remember वो कैसे उसने pitch पीटा था, but we don't remember उसका impact क्या था game पे.
And we also don't think about, यार हम देखते हैं कि ये देखो ये आ जाते हैं पता नहीं कहाँ से behave करना भी नहीं आता. You know, how crazy is this guy that he has to ask himself to calm down before every ball? Banging the pitch. He's cussing out Matthew Hayden, then getting hit for a six. Makes us look bad. But think about that guy. Where the fuck did he come from? What exposure did he have? Who were his parents? Where did he live? How much money did that family have? What dreams did he have? How many people told him he would never make it? Where the fuck did he go and bowl in some village in Kerala or whatever? I don't even know where he's from. And then suddenly, by some fucking unbelievable miracle, you're playing the World Cup for India. You're getting Adam Gilchrist out. Motherfucker, how would you react if you were Sreesanth? And you got Adam Gilchrist out, If you weren't working at Karur Vysya Bank anymore, you were able to put in your papers there, fly to fucking South Africa, business class, and then wear the Indian kit, and then bowl to Adam Gilchrist, and then get him out, middle stump. Would you not bang the pitch? You would probably tear your shirt and run around the whole fucking... What would you do, man? It's all understandable.
This is a team that has been winning the World Cup for 8 years, thrice in a row.
Yeah, this man comes from a third world country, okay? There's no minimum wage. There's no employment guarantee. There's no government that will give you a job and mandatory housing if you're homeless. No. There's just poverty and hunger and suffering and death. That's all there is.
He's the second cricketer from Kerala to play for India after Team Anand.
The guy got that upright seam, man. He put in the hours, he practiced, he got that ball to talk. That matters.
Yeah.
Of course, dude. If I was... I'll tell you this story, okay? I've wanted to do stand-up in English for a global audience for ages.
Yeah.
It had been a dream that was massive. I got invited in 2018 to the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. I got on stage. This is the first set I've done in front of a global audience that is very comedy literate, okay? And it was the first out of 30 shows or 35 shows that we did over there. I did 5 minutes in English in front of that audience, and it went really well.
Mm-hmm.
I came back to my apartment in Melbourne, and I cried, man.
Okay.
You want it that badly. You give a fuck. Back then I'd spent 8 years doing this, I didn't have a normal, your normal average sort of youth. I was working in the nights on weekends on stage and then writing jokes for corporates during the daytime in order to make enough money to be able to do stand-up for a living. I had come off the back of certain family-related difficulties. Everybody has a story, and I was still born in some sort of privilege. But everybody has a story. Everybody has their struggles. And then you go and you sort of have that inkling, that 1% proving yourself at the highest level. For me, that was that. It meant the whole world to me. I also did the worst gig of my life 10 days later in the same festival. And I cried after that too. But that's my point. You give a fuck. You care that much.
You go through bad times and you realize, oh my God, this bad time would be amplified in 2000 if it was, that cricketer. So a lot of that has to happen for you to actually understand.
Exactly, man. If I get 1,000 comments on my video saying, oh, this is funny, this is nice, and then 2 people say, mote to chutiya hai, and then another guy says, ye funny hai kya, hansu kya? It spoils half an hour of my day.
Yeah.
It's there at the back of my mind for the next hour or so. And in a country of more than 1.5 billion people, I am not even popular. My numbers don't even register on that larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
So when you consider the monumental level of hate, forget Virat Kohli, that even Kuldeep Yadav would get, that even Sanju Samson would get if he gets out early. How can I ever judge these? How can I ever judge these people? How can I ever put myself in that holier than thou position and be like, oh, Washington Sundar doesn't deserve it. You know what? Go fuck yourself. Because that guy has faced adversities which are so much larger than your judgment of him that it doesn't matter what you say. You know, like you look like an idiot for criticizing professional sportsmen. Like मैं पता 2018 में जब इंग्लैंड वाला टूर हुआ था इंडिया का, when we were playing tests over there, Pant had not got his 114 yet. Okay. So he was struggling. He played a couple of innings, got out early. I went to a friend's house. They were playing poker over there, okay, for $200 a buy-in. There's this guy sitting there in his boxer shorts, all right? And this motherfucker is like, yeah, Rishabh Pant is an idiot. And I'm like, dude, you're 33 years old. That guy's 20. He's India's first choice wicketkeeper in test matches. Dude, if Rishabh Pant deliberately hits his own stumps with his bat tomorrow first thing in the morning, before James Anderson runs into bowl, even if he does that and then walks off while singing a song and taking his shirt off, he has still achieved more than you and I and all the people in this room combined ever will. You know, he's Rishabh Pant. He's not an idiot. He is, if groomed correctly, he is the next Adam Gilchrist in world cricket. Like, it was so obvious even back then.
Yeah.
You know, and now look at him. You know, like, people just say shit. People just say, the fuck is MS Dhoni, slow khelta hai, kharab player ho gaya hai. Dekh, वही मैच मैंने भी देखा जो तूने देखा. हाँ, MS धोनी का स्ट्राइक रेट कम था, लेकिन अगर MS धोनी को लगता है कि उसे खेलना चाहिए और पूरी टीम को लगता है कि उसको खेलना चाहिए और टीम मैनेजमेंट को लगता है कि उसको खेलना चाहिए, तो खिलाओ भाई. मेरा ओपिनियन मैटर नहीं करता है यहाँ पे.
They know better.
विराट कोहली 8 साल से बटर चिकन नहीं खाया. Don't you think he cares? You know, don't you think he doesn't want to get out for 13 runs out of 28 balls? Like, I don't know. Like, people just act as if वो जानबूझ के आउट हो गया.
Yeah. Like, so you question the commitment.
भिलाई में किसी चूतिया का दिमाग खराब करने के लिए विराट कोहली ने निक कर दी बॉल. You know, like when I said that shit about Akash Chopra earlier, that's about his commentary. You know, but I still would not make fun of his batting. I still would not make fun of Sanjay Manjrekar's batting. But every time he says kulcha in the commentary box, I feel like breaking the TV on my knee. You know, but I will not say anything about his batting because he did something which is beyond my imagination or understanding. That 2007 T20 World Cup, 2007 में सचिन के बिना और बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स के बिना, अपने जो मेन प्लेयर्स हैं उनके बिना, धोनी is captain. What the fuck? Like, you know, that back then we were like, who made Dhoni the captain? Like, धोनी क्यों? You know, उससे सीनियर इतने सारे एक्सपीरियंस लोग हैं, धोनी कहाँ से बन गया कैप्टन? Suddenly a few matches happen and you're like, धोनी से बेटर कैप्टन दुनिया में ही नहीं है. इससे बेटर विकेट कीपर दुनिया, इससे बेटर आदमी दुनिया में नहीं है. काश धोनी मेरा बाप होता है. Like, you know, genuinely in 2007, like when you first saw what he's capable of, I was like, dude, can this guy adopt me? You know, like I want to learn about life from him and I want to call him dad. Like, that's how good he is, you know. And as that tournament progressed, by the time we got to the semis, there were hallmark, like monumental games in that tournament.
Yeah.
Nobody can forget India versus England. Nobody can forget that fucking legendary innings by Yuvraj Singh. You know, nobody can forget that. Nobody can forget the 6 sixes. The South Africa game. Nobody talks about the South Africa game. Dinesh Karthik's flying catch in the slips. You know, nobody talks about RP Singh's swing bowling. Nobody talks about Harbhajan turning the game in our favor at the end. In the Australia game. And that wasn't like some fuck all Australia team. That was Matthew Hayden. That was Andrew Simons. That was Adam Gilchrist. That was all of those motherfuckers, right? And Sreesanth fucking banging the pitch like this.
Yeah, almost the same thing that won the 2007 50-over World Cup. They sent the same team there. This was a team made up of, you know, Joginder Sharma and who...
Yeah. Who's a police officer now. You know what I mean? Like,
DSP, Haryana Police.
By the time the Australia game happened and it came time to face Pakistan in the finals, Indian cricket had changed.
Yeah.
Indian cricket was different.
In a matter of few weeks.
It didn't matter what happened in that. Yeah, it didn't matter what would happen in that final. It was like India किधर से भी जीतती है, bro. Like वो हो गया था तभी. India किधर से भी जीत सकती है. 2011 World Cup was obviously, I mean, we were partying in the streets. By the time 2011 World Cup started, I was like, India में और ये टीम है हमारी, ठीक है. ये लोग आसानी से जीतने वाले, कुछ नहीं होगा. और वही हुआ. Like no game was even really that close except the India-England game, you know, which was in the group stages. उसके अलावा nothing was close also. Like we took it very easily and it was very satisfying.
I just want to know about that period. You said that you became a little disenchanted with the game.
I stopped watching when I was 16 till I was about till the 2011 World Cup. So I was 16 in about 2008ish, 17. So 2008 to 2011 was the time where I stopped watching the game. And that was because the backbone of my other interests started to develop. I had been playing guitar and singing for a few years. I got into a band. I had like brand new friendships with people who are still very close to me. My girlfriend being one of them. So, and we were best friends for like a decade before we started dating. So, you meet all these people and you get influenced by their interests. Suddenly, life was more about music and comedy back then. I really got very heavily into stand up, and I started to spend my whole day watching stand up specials and stuff like that. And I used to think it would be so ridiculous to get to do this, but I mean, of course, it's not possible. But can you imagine doing this for a living? Like, how fucking crazy would that be? So I just thought that this is the process of growing up. But it came back, yeah, it came back soon enough. The World Cup, and then before that, like a couple of other things. It came back. I was like, okay, cool. I'm not going to stop watching, but yeah, there are other things in my life also now. Because there was a time that I used to live for cricket, like when I was a kid.
5 टेस्ट मैच के पूरे देखने होते थे.
हाँ, अभी भी पूरे देखता हूँ. लेकिन there used to be a time when I used to live for it in the sense that I went for net practice when I had 102 fever when I was like 10 years old, 11 years old, yeah. And I snuck out of my house. My parents had forbidden me, so मैं पैसे चुरा के नीचे रिक्शा में बैठ के निकल गया. So that's the thing. Like I was that obsessed. So अब वो I knew कि वो level का obsession नहीं है, but I'll still watch the game. Mayank Agarwal's 76 in Melbourne in 2018. If you remember that series, the first 2 tests, our opening combination was a big issue. Australia was a depleted side because they didn't have Smith and Warner,
Asterisk.
After our openers suffer in the first 2 test matches, we still, I think, won one of them. Did we? What was the scoreline like?
We won.
We won Adelaide, I think.
Yeah.
Perth we lost.
Yeah.
Melbourne we won. So it was 1-1 when we came to Melbourne, right? Now imagine that you're Mayank Agarwal. Okay, it's impossible to get into the Indian side as a batsman, as a pure batsman. It's impossible. Like, if you told me to grow another dick, I think that would be easier to do than to be like, okay. Then for even an established domestic Indian player to be like, I will be India's opening batsman in test matches. That's how hard it is, right?
Yeah.
Mayank Agarwal, in a moment of panic, gets a phone call saying, bro, you need to get on a flight to Melbourne. He's in Bangalore. Okay. He gets on a flight to Melbourne because KL Rahul and Murli Vijay are not in the best form. He lands in Melbourne. He replaces one of his best friends at the top of the order. He's batting with Hanuma Vihari at the other end, who does not open the batting. Brand new opening combination. I would laud that first 3 hours of play on Boxing Day morning in 2018 as some of the most hopeful, some of the most special Indian cricket I've seen in my life. Because Hanuma Vihari just facing a large number of balls to get, I don't know how many runs he got, like
8 of 66.
8 of 66, right? Yeah. So to face those 66 balls is 11 overs. Okay, your first session lasts about 25, 27 overs. That's when the ball is swinging in Melbourne. To take the shine of the ball, Hanuma Vihari did a special job. But what Mayank Agarwal did was just outstanding. I was in Manali watching it on an old TV set in a lodge where me and my girlfriend had gone for the New Year. And I was guilty of completely ignoring whatever my girlfriend was saying for the duration of that game, because I was like, hey, listen, I know we're on vacation. I'll make this up to you, but I don't think I can explain how special this is, like what's happening right now, To get 76 runs, to hit Nathan Lyon on top of his, like above his head for multiple sixes, to straight drive Stark and Cummins and Hazelwood, on drive, straight drive, cover drive with that level of purity and that simplicity in his technique. Bear in mind, this guy's not played a practice match. This guy's not been with the team in the nets. Nothing. First day, Melbourne test. Day 1, Boxing Day test. Everybody is in the stands. It's packed. Everybody's wearing pink. Glenn McGrath's wife's face is on the big screen and you walk out to bat. And you're like, dude, I used to watch this shit on TV. What the fuck am I doing here? I can't imagine what was going through his mind. I can't imagine how fast his heart was racing. How do you score 76 there? Even if he scored 30 runs that day, it would be an incredible, like a mind-blowing achievement.
Yeah, even Hanuma Vihari's 8 runs are so special.
Kerry O'Keefe in the commentary box, okay, with his bullshit. एक तो बुढ़े सफेद लोग ना इतना गुस्सा आता है ना मेरे को इन पे, like with their bullshit, outdated, semi-racist nonsense rhetoric that they spew. Okay, Mayank Agarwal, like the other commentator said, I heard he's got a mountain of runs in domestic cricket. He's been knocking at the door for a while, and then this guy's like, yeah, I mean, it doesn't count when you get those runs against the Punjab Railway Canteens 11. And I'm like, ruk ja, tu ruk ja. I really hope you see what the domestic structure is like over here. Like, and then now look at it right now. Like, look at our domestic structure. Look at our test team. Look where Australia is. Look where all of that arrogance and all of that disdain gets you.
You told about how your girlfriend has to endure your periods where you just go ranting about cricket. How does that work? Is it a comfortable arrangement, or?
Luckily, she's a very sort of ambitious person, very hardworking person, much more than I am, Spends her whole day working. She has her own business, stuff like that. So until the evening, we don't really hang out much because we live together. In any case, we spend more time together than most couples do, right? Because we both work from home, we both live together. So yeah. So we'll hang out, we'll eat lunch together, we'll talk, we'll spend some time, we'll take a break from our work and hang out. But our main hanging out together starts post 9 p.m. in the night till about 12:01, and then she goes to sleep. A little while later, I go to sleep, right? So most cricket starts and finishes before that time.
Yeah. Unless it's a West Indies tour.
Yeah, so most days I'm able to actually spend time with her, which is unencumbered by the cricket. There are certain situations where, like, now we'll be playing in England, right? Match is going to go on till 11 p.m. So it's going to be on my phone and it's going to be kept next to me. And she knows it's there. I'm not like hiding it and watching it and whatever. But like, so it's actually a happy arrangement. She'll turn on Netflix and watch some show that I'm not interested in. I'll put on my headphones and put the game on my laptop, but we'll be sitting in bed together and we'll be eating dinner together. And in the middle, we'll take a break, we'll talk, stuff like that. But I think in a relationship, being around each other is as important as like talking to each other and stuff like that. And if you spend so much time together, after a while, the other person also understands, okay, he needs to do his thing now, let him do it, it's fine. So it's not that much of an issue.
It's largely about, the passion for cricket. Is it understood? Is it respected? And is that a very...
I think it's understood. I don't think it's respected. Like, I think that there is an element of like, why the fuck does this guy care if those guys win? Like...
Exactly, that happens, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it from her perspective also. Like, she's completely justified in thinking कि यार ये लड़के पागल होते हैं क्या कि मतलब इतने सारे क्रिकेट से obsessed and stuff like that. But then again, if I watch her watching a reality show on Netflix, which is full of like horrible, dumb people like that who I absolutely hate, वो अलग बात है कि अगर 2 episode मैंने देख लिए तो मैं भी invest हो जाऊंगा, वो अलग बात है, ठीक है? Like मैं भी घुस जाऊंगा उसके अंदर पूरी तरह से. But that's the thing, like okay, so I play guitar, right? And I bought my dream guitar recently, okay? And there's a few other guitars I have my eye on over the next few years, which I want to buy. Now, after I work on my guitar collection over the next few years, my girlfriend will never understand why I have 6 guitars, She's always going to be like, dude, you're an excessive piece of shit. Why are you doing this, You can, and then if I plug one in and play it, and then if I plug another one in and play the same thing, she'll say it sounds the same because that's not an area of her interest, right? That's an area of my interest. Yeah. Similarly, if she makes me look at something that she bought, like that she really likes, that she wants to wear, I don't understand fashion. So I'm like, acha hai, ye bhi acha hai. And she's like, ye wala bahut kharab hai na, like we're in the shop. I'm like, nahi, acha to wo bhi hai, to meri wo nahi samajh mein aata, So I guess there is an aspect of, we're 96% monkey, man, human beings. Even now, like scientifically, we're 96% monkey, and monkeys shit in their own hands, and they throw it at people. So like, we're not as smart as we think we are.
I have vivid imaginations.
Yeah, so we're going to do dumb animalistic things like watch cricket for 8 hours a day or get attracted to the shiny guitar or the nice handbag or whatever. And that's how it is, So I don't think there's any judgment, but there is a little bit of humor around it. Like, I think she finds it funny that I could be so invested in the cricket, There are times when it becomes a lot. There are times when she's like, dude, can you fucking stop? And like, uska wo hota hai bahut ki कल तो था मैच, आज भी कैसे? And I'm like, वो टेस्ट मैच है, 5 दिनों तक है. And she's like, अबे यार ये 2 दिन का ब्रेक तो ले ले बीच में, ये लोग यार क्या चल रहा है? You know. I think the greatest moment in the history of cricket in general, and of course I'm biased as an Indian fan. I mean the Gabba, like there's no the Gabba, Washington Sundar's dog, Gabba, that Gabba, you know.
Yeah.
Because of the context, because of the number of injured players, because the fact that it was Australia, because of the fact that we have been subject, when I say we, I mean our guys, have been subject to racist abuse, to unfair umpiring decisions, to hounding by the media, to, I would say, straight up poor sportsmanship by the likes of Ricky Ponting and Michael Clarke. Just fuck, if you nick it to third slip and don't walk or second slip and don't walk, you're a piece of shit. Unfortunately, that's a fact, you know. It's not a thin feather you got and the ball went straight into the wicketkeeper's gloves. You're being a piece of shit. And you're literally looking at an umpire like, what, are you going to give me out? I'm the Australian captain in Sydney. What, are you going to give me out? Like, but you nicked it there, you know. You will literally touch a ball to the ground and claim the catch. There's a history to the Australia series. In 2018, we beat them fair and square, but oh, fucking Smith and Warner weren't there. And what? Nobody else knows how to hold a bat on that entire continent, really? Now what? Now Smith and Warner are back. Everybody's back, you know. And so that's why it meant so much. Not only are Smith and Warner back, we're playing with 3 guys who were playing for Railways last week, and 1 guy who's only ever hit a hanging tennis ball in his mom's house, you know. That's who's coming out to bat right now, and they're beating you as well. You know, like, of course I'm exaggerating, but they're not. They're a second string, third string side, right? And then they go and they achieve that. जब वो Pat Cummins को pull shot मारा था ना ऋषभ पंत ने, and he fell over, I was like, we won this, man. That's the moment I was like, we won this shit, dude. We're gonna win this shit. What the fuck? How are we winning this shit? How are we chasing 328?
It was almost a script, yaar. Matlab, it was written. It was like written. इतना खूबसूरत था वो.
It was like Stairway to Heaven, you know what I mean? The whole series, or like Bohemian Rhapsody, like an amazing, or like a great play in 3 or 4 separate acts, right? It was like Adelaide, 36 all out, all of that. Which, by the way, if you just take that 4th innings away, that's an embarrassing test match for Australia. Melbourne was great. It was comprehensive. And then Sydney was even better because like fucking Hanuma Vihari can't walk. You know, Ashwin has a broken back and they just hang in there and they save the test match. And the sledging, Tim Payne. And then, you know, I just love little things about it. Like Tim Payne sledges him. Ashwin, who's a bowler, who doesn't even call himself an all-rounder, has more test centuries than Tim Payne. Plus, he owns Tim Payne by saying, India mat aana, tera aakhri tour hoga.
Yeah.
Tim Payne drops the catch soon after that. Then Cricket Australia puts out the highlights of day 5 of the Sydney Test and does not include the whole sledging snippet in it. It's just not there. It's not there. Pujara hit 3 boundaries in a row. That's not there. There are these little edits, these little things that they do. And I'm like, you guys are such petty scumbags, you know? So the anger builds a little bit more. Like it's coming from 20 years. It's irrational anger. It's coming from my childhood of watching India.
Rage. It's rage by this point.
Watching them suck, first of all, in Australia. And secondly, not only suck, but when they were playing well, being treated unfairly.
Yeah.
You know, tactics which were, I don't think in the spirit of the game, like racist abuse or abuse of any kind or poor umpiring decisions and all of that shit, you know. So it was coming from a lot of that kind of baggage. When we saved Sydney, I was like, dude, we won this series. Whatever happens in Gabba, we've won this series. Because Gabba is their fortress. Guess what? Ravindra Jadeja has now broken his finger. Hanuma Vihari is injured.
Even Jasprit Bumrah is not there.
Jasprit Bumrah, man, that was the biggest blow. Gabba के पहले अगर बुमराह होता टीम में तो मैं बोलता इंडिया जीतेगी. पर बुमराह नहीं था टीम में इसलिए I was like यार ये बहुत मुश्किल है. पर फिर भी 5:30 बजे जागा हुआ था. फिर भी when Natarajan is coming into bowl, I'm like, it's still a ball, and that's still a guy standing in front of him. The ball can pitch in the corridor of uncertainty and it can just go away a little bit. You can catch an edge. Doesn't matter if it's Natarajan or my grandmother. You know what I mean? Like the ball can still get that batsman out, right? So you have hope and you watch it. And then, what was that test match, man? Like I've not seen anything like it in my life. Like yeah, it was unreal.
Saurav Ganguly की टीम इतनी हारती थी that's what made NatWest Championship win so special, right?
Exactly.
That's what made, like, we won the Adelaide Test, we won the Test in Headingley, we won Port of Spain Test. all of those tests, अगर आज के टाइम पे देखें तो हम तो almost we are winning so easily. We are winning in Australia
Yeah.
on multiple occasions, right?
At that time, every win was so valuable.
Exactly.
Because when you're like the number 6, number 7 ranked team in the world, and you go to Australia and you beat them there, there was that feeling about India that this is not one of the strongest teams in the world, but this is one of the most special teams in the world. This team sometimes does things that other teams that are ranked similarly to it cannot even dream of.
Yeah.
वो
passion दिखता था.
हाँ.
In the fielding of Kaf Yuvraj, in the bowling of Zahir Khan, Harbhajan Singh, batting of Virender Sehwag, Saurav Ganguly,
and in the eyes of Rahul Dravid, in that half-open mouth of his, like that face that he would make while concentrating, you'd be like, this guy gives so many fucks right now. Like he cares so much.
Exactly.
It was inspirational. Like I would remember like watching interviews of Rahul Dravid talking about cricket, and that would motivate me to study for my exams.
Wow.
Like that was the level of like when you look at like how hard these people work and how much they have to concentrate, ball after ball after ball. I'm like, I have to learn 6 answers in science about which food has which vitamin. Just memorize it and give the exam. Why are you being so dramatic about it? Yeah, like a lot of my character building years, like cricket has contributed to it.
Going ahead in your life, whenever you come across a difficult situation, you think your mind will go back to Gabba and that will help you motivate yourself?
I am actually currently working on the team photograph, right, of the 11 that played the Gabba Test is going to sit on the wall right behind my desk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Because like those guys, some of them had no place in Test cricket right now. It was going to take them a few years, and even then, if they were very lucky, they would become Test cricketers. How is Washington Sundar in the Test squad? Like, how did he do that? How did Shardul do that? How did Natarajan do that?
They took 20 Australian wickets in Brisbane.
Imagine being against Australia, 242 for 3. Okay, Australia are. Right, Marnus Labuschagne already had 100, I think, by then. And this one, Matthew Wade, okay, which is like the king of playing a shitty shot in his 40s, right? So now both of these guys get a surprising delivery from T. Natarajan, who has been hit around the ground. He's not had the best day, and that bounce surprises both Labuschagne and this one, Matthew Wade. And suddenly from 240 to 3, you're like 248 for 5. If that guy who's running in did not think that Australia could be 248 for 5, Australia would have been 405 for 3.
Very true. Very true.
That's like, अगर उसको भरोसा है, जो actually उस situation में है, तो me as a fan, how can I lose hope, right?
This moved everyone, and probably that's why the World Test Championship final loss also didn't feel that bad, because Gabba जीत लिया ना, वो बहुत है.
Test matches, I'm not affected by losses, but I am deeply moved by wins abroad. Away wins, those are pure gold. Like they're the reason why I'm a cricket fan still, is to have that experience, to have that feeling. We went to England and won. We went to Australia and won. We went to New Zealand and that. Especially New Zealand. I mean, not only are they the best team, that's also the toughest place to play cricket from a subcontinental team's point of view. So, yeah, I knew before the Australia series started that if we win this, I'm going to be over the moon about it. Like I'm going to feel like a child again, and that's why I watch, because it's like, fuck, what else feels like you're 12 years old again? Nothing in life. You have bills to pay, you have rent, and you're an adult, you're a grown-up person. But when the cricket is on and you're thinking about nothing else, you're a kid, and it's the only place that exists anymore. Nowhere else can you get that feeling. So yeah.
The emotion that you have for cricket, my God, it is just so evident in what you have said right now. It is just there. With that, I think we will wrap this up. But before we end this episode, there is one question that I always ask my guests. And the question is that, if it's an India-Pakistan final being played at Lords and you have the option of taking one friend from the stand-up comedy community, who would you pick?
Siddharth Udeja.
My God, you didn't even let me finish that question.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody in Indian stand-up that I know personally who... there are people who are as obsessed with cricket, but like who watches the game with as similar a lens that I do, like who appreciates the same things about the game that I do.
And that's a beautiful feeling, isn't it? To have one person
Yeah,
जो
it's
छोटी छोटी चीजें अप्रिशिएट करता है जो तुम सिर्फ तुम्हें लगता है तुम देख रहे
yeah.
हो. Perfect. Considering the fact that he is going to be on this podcast next, I think this is just the exact spot where we'll end this episode. Thank you so much, Karunesh, for joining
Thanks for
us.
having me, man. I
It was
really
such
appreciate
a
it.
fantastic conversation talking cricket to you.
Thank you so much, man. I had a great time. Thanks for having me.